Welcome to Las Vegas, Sam's Town, home of the 2013 Amateur Bowling Tour Winter Nationals. This IAB TV exclusive is sponsored by Storm, the Bowlers Company. Storm, it's how I roll. And by IAB TV, the international art of bowling. Amateur bowlers from all around the country have converged on Sam's Town in Las Vegas to compete for a purse of nearly $85,000, one of the richest purses in amateur bowling. This is the Winter Nationals, the first major of the year on the ABT. And after all those rounds of bowling, the field has been whittled down to the final 4 bowlers. And here they are. Brian Main, 31 years old, from San Gabriel, California. Brian's in his 5th year on the ABT and has 2 ABT titles. Dave Slager, 28 years old, bowling out of Payson, Utah. A 5-year veteran of the ABT, Dave has 1 national and 3 local ABT titles. Kyle Fujimoto, 35 years old, the local favorite. Kyle's from North Las Vegas. He's been bowling just a year and a half on the ABT Tour and already has 1 national and 6 local ABT titles. And Sol Sarikas, 42 years old, out of Arcadia, California. Sol has been bowling on the ABT Tour for 2 years and has 2 ABT titles. Now, this is an amateur competition and a handicap event. Handicaps are calculated throughout the tournament based on 80% of the difference between a bowler's assigned entering average and 225. But for our purposes today, the handicaps you'll see on the score sheet are an indication of the handicap differential between the contestants competing in each match. Our competitors will be bowling today on the Kegel ABT National Pattern. We're joined by professional bowlers Jason Belmonte and Deandra S. Beatty, who are here to tell you just what sort of challenge this pattern will present to our competitors.
I think at first glance you can see that the pattern doesn't look all that tough. There's certainly a bunch of oil in the middle of the lane, and it definitely thins out as it gets closer to the edge.
You're probably going to want to start further to the right, around the 5 to 10 range. You probably will expect it to develop into crossing around 15 to 8 shape.
I would probably expect, depending on carry in the sensor, but the scores to be medium high to high. You're going to have to be pretty aggressive with your decisions. Obviously, shooting a few 200 and 210 games might not cut it, so don't be afraid to go down swinging. There looks like there's plenty of oil across the lane at the front, so you can play further to the right if you don't quite have the rev rate like I do, or if you do have a bit of hand on the ball, you can certainly creep in a little bit.
You probably also want to think about more of a slower ball speed, more like slow curving the lane, since there is a lot of oil in this particular pattern. Of course, it depends on how defined the ball track is in this bowling center and how much overall friction there is on the surface.
I can see certainly some of the stronger equipment to start off with while the oil is fresh, and then you can certainly go down to things that want to turn the corner later on in the block. I think though, if you just keep your head down, be aggressive with your decisions, make all your spares, you shouldn't have a problem with this one.
Keep it simple. Don't try to do too much. Pick up your spares and you should be good to go.
Thank you, Jason Belmonte and Deandra S. Beatty. Now, before our bowlers begin the competition, let me explain the format we'll be watching. It's a little different from what you might have seen before on bowling telecasts and webcasts. Our 4 finalists have advanced to this point and will bowl 1 elimination game. Now, their scores posted in the tournament up to this point are wiped out, and all 4 bowlers begin all even, except for the small number of handicap pins some of them will receive. The players with the top 2 net scores in this first game will advance to the title match, where they'll bowl 1 head-to-head game to determine the tournament winner, and the players who post the 3rd and 4th highest scores in this opening game will be eliminated from title competition, but will advance to a consolation match, where they'll bowl head-to-head to determine who finishes 3rd and 4th. We're bowling on 2 adjacent pairs of lanes. Our 4 bowlers were assigned a starting lane, and will bowl on either lanes 3 and 4 or lanes 5 and 6. But remember, this first game, all 4 players are competing against all the others, with just the 2 top players advancing to the title match. As is customary in competitive bowling, the player that starts the match will begin on the left lane, and then the players will alternate right lane, left lane, until the completion of their game. So, with all that said, let's get underway with our opening elimination game. First up is Kyle Fujimoto, who is bowling without any handicap pins in this game. He begins on lane 5. And fires that one right in the hole. Next on lane 3 is Saul Sirico. Saul gets 1 pin in handicap this game. He doesn't need it with that strike. Next up is Brian Main. Brian receives 8 pins in handicap in this elimination game. Something distracts him, so he will reset, and we will watch Dave Slager. Dave gets no handicap pins this game. He revs it up and starts with a strike. So now Brian Main up on lane 6. Comes up high, leaving the 3-6. And Dave Slager up on lane 3. Look out, this one gets away, leaving the 1-3-6. As Brian goes after his spare on lane 6. And converts. So all 4 players begin with a mark in the first frame. As Dave Slager goes after this spare on lane 3. Not textbook, but effective. Now, Brian Main on lane 5. High again, and another 3-6. Saul Siricos, 42 years old. Playing that outside line to perfection. And Saul begins with a double. Brian Main covers the 3-6. So he has 2 spares to start. And Saul Siricos on lane 3. Smooth. And Saul begins with a turkey. Up on lane 6, Kyle Fujimoto. He too playing the gutter. And has a double to show for it. Back to lane 4, Dave Slager. Wide with that one, leaves a 2 pin. As Kyle Fujimoto now up on lane 5. Has a double working. Pulls it a little. Oh! Well, that'll work too. Dave Slager for his spare. And converts it. So Saul and Kyle perfect through 3 frames, as Brian Main now up on lane 6. And he finds the pocket after a couple of high hits to begin his game. Back to lane 3, Dave Slager. Another ball drifting high. Leaves the 3-10, baby split. Brian on lane 5. Calls for a Brooklyn and gets it. Take those two. Sure. And Dave open now in the fourth frame. Here's Kyle Fujimoto. Coming up a little light, and look out, there's a 2-4-10 split as Saul Sirikos on lane 4 goes for his fourth in a row. It leaves a weak 10. Kyle Fujimoto for the split. Oh, hello! How about that? What a great shot. And now Sol for his 10-pin and converts. Sol Sirikos holds a 2-pin advantage over Kyle Fujimoto. Brian Main is 11 pins back, but more importantly, 9 pins behind second place. And Dave Slager with 66 through the fourth is 33 pins behind the leader and 31 pins out of second place. Remember, the idea in this game is just to get into the top 2 in order to advance to the title match. Kyle drifts left with his first ball in the fifth. But converts the 6-pin. Now Sol Sirikos on lane 3. Carries that half pocket hit. Boy, you can really carry those when you're playing that outside line. Back to Brian Main on lane 6. Calls for a Brooklyn, but it does not cross over, and he will have the baby split to contend with. Here's Dave Slager on lane 4. Light and carries that wall shot. And Brian converts the 310. So Dave Slager now up on lane 3. And this one drifts a little high, but he trips the 4 and picks up a double and trying to get back in this match. Again, the object is not necessarily to win this first elimination game, but just to get in the top 2 so that you have a chance at the title. Brian's first ball does not come up. In the 6th frame, he leaves the 1-2-8. Here's Saul. And he gets the messenger, so Saul has 5 strikes in 6 frames. The only thing he left was that 10-pin earlier. Here's Brian. Maybe not the way you draw it up, but a spare. And now Saul on lane 3. Asking for it to hook. It does. Slaps out the 10, and he has another turkey. As we watch Kyle Fujimoto bowling on lane 6. And he gets that light shaker to go. Dave Slager up on lane 4. This one into the weeds. Dave could not bring that one back, so he's unable to capitalize on his double. A 6 count, and he'll have his hands full with the 1-2-4-8. Kyle Fujimoto now in lane 5. Trying to stay close to Saul. And he gets another light one to go. So there's a double for Kyle Fujimoto. And now Dave Slager with a tricky spare. And this one will not go. So he is open for the second time, 120 through 7 frames. And he has his work cut out for him now to get into the top 2.
Shot, boy, come on.
Brian light on lane 6 with a 2.58. And now Dave Slager up on lane 3, needs to get it going. But he will leave a washout. And Brian fails to convert the 2.58. That drops Brian Main to 38 pins out of second place with just 3 frames left. Projecting. Brian can take it off the sheet for 218 plus the 8 pins handicap he's getting for 226. Kyle Fujimoto, who's in second place, is going at a 226 pace, so there's really no wiggle room left for Brian Mann. And there is a washout for Brian Main. Sol Cerritos now on lane 4. He's on his knees, but what doesn't help as he leaves the 4, 6, 7, 9. And now another open frame. Brian Main, 137 through the 8th. Well, that's going to make it difficult. Sol just taking the count here. 8 out, so wow. Well, let's see. We've got Dave Slager must see the writing on the wall for him too. An open in the 8th gives him 129 through 8 with a possible 189. Unless our 2 leaders throw some balls in the moat from that outside line, it looks like Dave is going to be in the consolation match. And well, there's still a chance for Brian to sneak in after that open for Saul. But then Saul comes right back with a strike. Kyle can just about punch his ticket to the finals, but he actually misses the spare. And I guess we're just going to have to watch these guys finish to see who gets in. Dave picks up a strike there. So let's see. Brian can still get there with his handicap, so we haven't quite closed the door on him yet, but Kyle can pretty much put an end to that here. Sticks, but the ball sets in the pocket. And here's Dave, who makes a ball change, but oh my, leaves the big 4 in the 10th frame. That'll have him in the 150s, so he's definitely in the consolation match. And Brian Main must strike. Not to be. So, well, the final pairings are set now. It'll be Sol Cerritos with a big game here. Let's see just how big it's going to be. Takes a moment to close his eyes, visualize the shot. Wait, Brian shoots at his spare. Converting now, Sol in the 10th. Looked like he didn't like the way he finished at the line, but the ball held pocket just enough to trip the 4. And Brian with 9 count, so the best he can do is 176. Another strike in the 10th for Sol Sarikas. That'll put him in the, well, 240s with a 9 count. 241 with a strike. Tell you what, Sol Sarikas, 10 strikes in this game. All right, 9 strikes in this game. 240. Not a bad afternoon. Brian finishes out with an 8 count for 174. So he and Dave will be bowling in the consolation match, and Kyle Fujimoto.
I ran out of gas.
Trips the 4. Still has room for 233 if he can get 2 more strikes. Well, you may have just heard Brian Main. It sounds like he said that he just ran out of gas. Oh! Another half pocket hit that looked like it might leave a 10 pin, but here comes the messenger. So with a good count, that'll put Kyle in the 230s. Nice finish, a 232. So our finals are all set. It'll be Sol Sarikas with a big 240 game to advance to the title match against Kyle Fujimoto, who bowled a 232. And in the consolation match, Brian Main will face Dave Slager. Now the title match will be on lanes 3 and 4, well, where Sol Sarikas is obviously lined up, and Kyle Fujimoto will need to get lined up in a big hurry on that pair. Now in this final match, Sol Sarikas is getting 7 pins handicap against Kyle Fujimoto, and Brian Main will get 2 pins handicap against Dave Slager. Sol Sarikas will throw the first ball of the title match. Right up that first arrow, and Sarikas with a strike to start. Just the way he began the elimination game. Brian Main, who lists his favorite PBA bowlers as Wes Malott and Michael Fagan. And right around the 12th board, and this ball just does not come up. And Brian starts with a washout. And he looks a little confused. Here's Kyle Fujimoto on lane 4. First shot of the final match. He just steamrolls it. Brian begins with an open in his consolation match. Back over to our title pairing. Kyle Fujimoto up on lane 3. Working on a strike. Tell you what, these 2 players who are in our title match, both playing that outside line, and the guys who are in the consolation match are playing a little deeper, like between the 2nd and 3rd arrows. Maybe these 2 guys figured something out about this pair that nobody else saw. Here's Sol. Wow. He looks really zeroed in. And here's Dave Slager from Payson, Utah. I'll tell you what, ever since he made that ball change late in the elimination game, Dave looks like he's ready to start over. Solsarikis on lane 3. Three solid strikes to begin the title match, and he's getting 7 pins against Kyle. Here's Brian. This one drifts high, and he leaves the 4-10. Boy, after that open in the first frame, this is not the start he had in mind. Kyle Fujimoto. Little light, but gets him to go. So that's a turkey for Kyle. Both of our finalists perfect through 3 frames, and touched it, but couldn't even get the 4-pin to fall. 4th frame, Kyle. And a ringing 10. Ooh. Brian up on lane 5. Brings it in perfectly after a couple of opens to start. And now here's Kyle for his spare in the 4th frame. And that one gets away. So an open in the 4th frame for Kyle Fujimoto. And that's a big advantage for Solsarikis. As Dave Slager comes up high in the 3rd. Here's Sol trying to take advantage of the opening. And oh no! Well. Spare for Dave Slager. And now Solsarikis. Got to figure he'll just take the count. So 9 out. We'll put him 2 pins behind. Of course, he's getting those 7, so he has a net 5-pin lead in the title match still. And Dave trips out the 4 and gets out of trouble with just a 9-pin lead in the 4th. And now Sol trying to regroup after that big split in the 4th frame. And he is right back on it with a strike in the 5th. As Dave Slager converts the 9-pin. And he is obviously in command of his consolation match against Brian Main, who got off to a rocky start. And now Kyle Fujimoto, following 3 strikes and then an open where he missed the 10. He's back on it, so both of our finalists, 4 strikes in 5 frames and an open, each of them in the 4th frame. Ringing 10. Brian, he just can't seem to get anything going. You can see in his body language he doesn't have much left. Gets that 10-pin to tap out. So he gets a double. And Brian kind of looks like he's just going through the motions now. It's got to be disappointing after such a great week to come up just short of the title match. Here's Sol. Oh, high again, and another 4-6-7. That's 2 in a row on the right lane. Wow. Well, that could change things in this title match, for sure. Asking for a Brooklyn, and Brian gets it, so a strike in the 5th. And now Sol Sarikas again, just take the count. 9 out. So 113 through the 6th, plus his 7-pin handicap. He has surrendered the lead now to Kyle Fujimoto. As Dave Slager gets that Brooklyn. Sol again trying to regroup, and if he's struggling on the right lane, he needs to keep the left lane if he can. And he does. Dave Slager through the nose leaves a 3-6, but he has 40-pin advantage. 43. Here's Kyle Fujimoto on lane 6. Outside line and just stuffs it. So he has 6 strikes in 7 frames. As Dave converts that 3-6 spare. Fujimoto up in the 8th frame. And another perfect shot. So that's a 4-bagger. And he is really pouring it on. And another split for Brian. I think Brian is ready to hit the showers. Go have a burger. Sol needs to try to put some heat on Kyle here. Makes the adjustment on that right lane where he had left those 2 splits in his last 2 attempts. A nice try at the 6-7, but Brian will be open again, 72 through 6. And now Sol, he just needs to keep the pedal to the metal here. He needs to just keep striking. But that one goes high, and he leaves the 4-7. That's going to make things difficult for him now. So projecting, Sol has room for 211 plus his 7 pins, call it 218 if he goes off the sheet. Kyle is working at a 237 pace. Kyle will need a mark in the 9th or 10th and any kind of count. So here is Kyle Fujimoto trying to get one of those marks. Well, that's the kind of mark you like. A spare for Brian. All right, now Kyle up in the 10th frame. Well, that'll do it. That will do it. Kyle Fujimoto is going to be your winner of the ABT Winter Nationals. And a dominating performance. He still has room for 267. Wow, that will put him in the 260s there. How good is that? Talk about coming up big when it matters. .267, 11 strikes. And the only miss he had was a ringing 10, which he missed. But boy, after Saul had just had a 9-strike game on this same pair of lanes in the elimination, Kyle had to figure that he was going to have to go to the whip in this final match, and boy, did he ever. As we see the players in the consolation match finishing things out, but they're just kind of going through the motions. Saul with a spare in the 10th. He will be in the, well, he'll be right at 190 if he strikes. And here is Saul's final ball right up the edge and stuffs one in the hole. 199. So our third and fourth place players, Brian Main and Dave Slager, finishing out, but the mystery has been solved here. It's going to be Kyle Fujimoto who adds a second national title to go along with his 6 local ABT titles. And the folks at Texas Star Lanes, where Kyle sports a 195 average in a sport league, have got to be doing backflips. So Brian Main finishes with a trip for strike. And I think the thing he's most excited about is that he's finished. But Kyle Fujimoto accepts congratulations from the crowd, and it is a happy day in Las Vegas for our winner. Kyle Fujimoto takes the winner's share of the purse here at the Amateur Bowling Tour. Sol Sarikas, second place. Dave Slager finishes third, and Brian Main takes down fourth. So let's go to Jason Langtree, who is with our runner-up.
I am joined by Sol Sarikas, our runner-up finisher in our Winter National Tournament. I'd like to congratulate you for a great tournament, Sol.
Thank you.
If you could give me a little rundown on the path that it took to get all the way into that championship match.
Yeah, it took me at least 5 tries, and then I qualified. So I pretty much figured out where to, play the lanes, and that's how I qualified.
I noticed that you were definitely playing a far outside line, and you were able to do very well in your first 3 rounds of match play.
Yeah, and then my one board got dry on me, so I couldn't move right anymore because that's it. I'm playing on the gutter, so I got scared playing on the gutter, half a board, and that's it. It's just not enough room for me no more.
Well, you definitely played the farthest out as any bowler that I've seen in the competition. And in the championship match, there was that moment when Kyle left the 10-pin when you both were on a 3-bagger, and then he missed the 10-pin. You must have really felt some momentum there.
Yes, and that momentum has just got me excited. So I start squeezing the ball, and I shouldn't have, but you know, it happened. When I saw that opening, that's it. You know, I just got excited.
Yeah, when Kyle definitely started stringing, but the nice thing for you, your crowd was really cheering for you. It must have gave you some amazing support.
Yes, because majority, I guess, it's from California. So I don't know where is he from, but yeah, I got all the support from Cali. So you know, I was hoping that I would have won, but you know, good luck.
Well, Sol, we always appreciate you coming to the Winter Nationals. I congratulate you for your tournament. It was awesome to see all the cheering going for you. We look forward to seeing you in more ABT tournaments.
Definitely. I'll come by April and hope to try it again.
Excellent. Thank you, Sol.
All right, so Sol Sirikos knew he was right there, and when Kyle let that 10-pin conversion slip by in the gutter, it looked for a minute like Sol was in the driver's seat. He was, after all, coming off a 240 game on the same pair of lanes and had that 7-pin handicap in his back pocket. But Kyle Fujimoto was just in dead stroke and buried Sol in an avalanche of strikes. Let's go back to Jason, who's with our winner.
I'm joined by Kyle Fujimoto, our champion of this event. Kyle, how does it feel to be a national champion?
That's great. Kind of speechless right now, actually.
Excellent. I would expect to be as well. I'd like to get a little bit of ABT history from you. Like, how long have you been bowling the ABT?
I think I joined September of 2011, somewhere around there.
Very nice. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the path that you went through to get to the final match.
Wow. It's all kind of a blur right now. I
understand, Kyle. Basically, like, how many games of qualifying?
I bowled 6 games of qualifying, made it on my second block, my second try, and shot plus 140 in the semis.
I noticed in the match play you pretty much had a great scoring and were able to defeat your opponents pretty easily. And I did notice that once we got into that champion match, I'd like to talk about that 4th frame where you left the 10-pin and missed it.
Yeah, I threw a good shot, but I guess, and I thought I threw a good spare shot too, but it slid off the end into the gutter, basically.
Right, at that moment, your opponent, Sol Sirikos, was also on a 3-bagger, and it really shifted the momentum in that match. And then you went off the sheet from that point, pretty much coasted into victory. That must have felt great.
Oh, yeah, definitely. From there, I was pretty much in the zone. And, yeah.
Well, as a hometown bowler in Las Vegas, a little bit of a home crowd was really cheering for you. That must have felt good as well.
Oh, yeah, that was great support. Kept me very calm, actually.
And it must have been exciting as well because Sol Sirikos from Southern California really had the crowd favorite, so his cheers were louder. Obviously, you didn't let that affect you.
Definitely, yeah. I don't let that affect me when I bowl. I just concentrate and try and throw good shots, basically.
All right, well, I want to congratulate you for your first ABT national title, and I want to wish you great luck in future ABT tournaments.
Thank you.
So, congratulations to Kyle Fujimoto, 267 to 199, a winner over Sol Sirikos in the finals. Kyle pockets a cool $15,000 for winning the Amateur Bowling Tour 2013 Winter Nationals. From Sam's Town in Las Vegas, Nevada, this has been IAB TV's coverage of the Amateur Bowling Tour. Brought to you by Storm, the Bowlers Company. Storm, it's how I roll. And by IAB TV, the International Art of Bowling. Thanks to Jason Belmonte, Deandra S. Beatty, Jason Langtree, Jaime Perez, and the whole IAB TV crew. And of course, our most gracious hosts here at Sam's Town. For information about the Amateur Bowling Tour, visit abtbowling.com. I'm Randy Brown. Thanks for watching the Amateur Bowling Tour on IAB TV. Now, go knock something down.